Eagle House in Eccleshall, Staffordshire, began its life not as a genteel residence, but as the town's parish workhouse. It was constructed in 1810 to replace a smaller, dilapidated workhouse, and the local vicar had condemned the old facility as a disgrace to any civilised country, prompting a push for a new poorhouse. The Bishop of Lichfield, lord of the manor at nearby Eccleshall Castle, granted permission to build on his land. The builders even recycled bricks and timbers from Eccleshall's crumbling old town hall to erect the new workhouse. By 1817, the first destitute residents moved in to the new Eccleshall poorhouse, and for just over 2 decades, Eagle House, as it would later be known, operated as a refuge of the last resort for the area's most vulnerable. It sheltered illegitimate children, abandoned wives, and the old and infirm, offering them basic lodging and manual work where possible. Tucked away at Cross Butts, a short distance from the bustling High Street, the workhouse was intentionally placed out of sight of polite society. Life in the workhouse wasn't pleasant. Inmates, called paupers at the time, earned their keep through menial labour, such as cleaning or mending, and lived under the watch of a workhouse governor. Historical records, recently unearthed by Helen and Andy, the current owners, have shed light on some personal stories of those who lived behind Eagle House's thick walls. For example, Sarah Emery was admitted as an infant in 1838 after being abandoned by her parents. Just 1 year old, Sarah was left with her grandmother, who couldn't cope with another mouth to feed, and so the baby was brought into the workhouse for care. And decades later, her name now graces one of the B&B's guest rooms in tribute. Another entry from the workhouse records speaks of Anne Groom, a young mother who arrived with her 3 children. Her husband was described as a rogue, believed to have been in the neighbourhood of Tamworth, who deserted the family, and with no means of support, Anne and her little ones sought shelter under the poorhouse roof. Stories like Sarah and Anne's illustrate the human drama that played out here, from infants born into misfortune to women left destitute, and it's these memories that are left to remember here. By 1839, the workhouse housed 97 paupers in total, plus the governor's own family, who managed the establishment. It's hard to imagine the crowded dormitories and meagre rations that once filled the same rooms, now dressed in comfort for guests. The workhouse era came to an end in 1839, following nationwide poor law reforms. The new poor law of 1834 reorganised relief to larger regional unions, and the Eccleshall paupers were relocated to the Stone Union workhouse about 7 miles away. Not long after the workhouse closed, Eagle House transitioned into a doctor's residence and surgery. Eccleshall's parish surgeon, Dr. Christopher Greatrix, purchased the property in the early 1840s. And the 1841 census captures a snapshot of his household there. He lived there with his wife Catherine and 5 of their 7 children. No longer a refuge for the poor, the big house now bustled with the life of a Victorian family. Dr. Greatrix's tenure at Eagle House left its mark on local history. He practised medicine in the town and raised a prominent family, and one of his sons, Frederick Greatrix, actually spent his youth at Eagle House and went on to become the mayor of Stafford, twice, in 1884 and in 1896. And it's intriguing to think that a boy who grew up in a former workhouse would rise to such civic status. And by 1853, Dr. Greatrix decided to move on and put the house up for sale at auction. Following the 1853 sale, Eagle House found an educational purpose. It became a boarding school for young ladies, and the school was established and run by Miss Sarah Tunnicliffe, who served as headmistress. Miss Tunnicliffe, reportedly aided by her 4 daughters, turned the former workhouse into a place of learning and refinement for girls. For nearly 4 decades throughout the late Victorian era, local records and newspapers show Eagle House operating as Miss Tunnicliffe's boarding school for young ladies, a private academy that likely taught music, needlework, literature, and other accomplishments of the day. The school prospered and continued until at least 1894, making it a fixture of Eccleshall society in the second half of the 19th century. It's a striking contrast. The same building that once housed the destitute poor was now hosting the daughters of well-to-do families, providing them with education and lodging. Eccleshall's location on the London to Chester coaching route made it a convenient spot for such an academy, and Eagle House was one of several private establishments in the town during that period. The large gardens and spacious rooms that had been meant to accommodate dozens of paupers now provided an elegant setting for classroom instruction and dormitories. By the end of the 19th century, as Miss Tunnicliffe grew older and the educational norms changed, the girls' school closed its doors. Eagle House had once again fulfilled a role and was ready to adapt to yet another identity as times changed. With the school era over, Eagle House settled into use as a private residence in the 20th century. The grand building became a family home over the ensuing decades, passing through different owners. Its historic character was recognised with an official Grade 2 listing in 1980, and the listing noted Eagle House's striking Georgian facade and survival of many of its original features. By the turn of the millennium, Eagle House was firmly part of Eccleshall's genteel townscape, a far cry from its workhouse days, and in 2000 the property was put on the market as a substantial private home with a guide price of £450,000. One newspaper quipped that such a sum might have wiped out local poverty 200 years ago, which is a wry reminder of the house's origins. By the late 2010s, Eagle House entered yet another incarnation, one that beautifully blends its past with the present. The property was carefully refurbished about 2017 to convert it into a bed and breakfast, while retaining its historic charm. And today, Eagle House operates as an award-winning B&B, offering 3 elegant guest rooms and a self-catering apartment. The current owners, Andy and Helen, are a husband and wife team, and they've not only brought hospitality and warmth to its halls, but they also have a passion for preserving their house's rich history. As soon as guests step through the front door, they can sense that Eagle House is more than just a pretty Georgian home. It's a living piece of Eccleshall's history. Andy and Helen discovered so much of the Workhouse story had been forgotten locally, so they undertook extensive research to reconnect with the house's past. With help from the newly opened Staffordshire History Centre archives, they unearthed old documents like admission registers and census records. These reveal poignant details about the men, women and children who once lived here in hardship. But most importantly, the owners have made a real effort to honour the memory of these early inhabitants. In 2024, they enhanced the guest experience by naming each bedroom after a historical figure linked to Eagle House's story. Visitors can choose to stay in the Emery Room, the Greatrix Room or the Tunnicliffe Room, with tributes to the infant pauper Sarah Emery and the Victorian doctor. Each room is decorated with a blend of period style and modern comfort, and each one includes a keepsake box with mementos or information relating to its namesake. These thoughtful touches turn a stay at Eagle House into a mini history lesson. So you might, for instance, read a little about Sarah Emery's fate or see copies of documents about Dr. Greatrix's family, all while sleeping in the very rooms that these people once occupied in one form or another. Andy and Helen love to share the stories in person, and rather than shy away from the building's workhouse chapter, they shine a light on it, describing what life would have been like in the 1830s, or pointing out how the layout of the house hints at its former uses. And by inviting guests to step back in time through stories and decor, the owners ensure that the legacy of the workhouse is not lost among the luxuries of a modern B&B. The couple's dedication to preserving Eagle House's history extends beyond their guests. They are compiling their research into a book about the building's full history, with plans to share it with the local community. And they've also shared their findings on the website's blog and social media, and even opened the doors to host local groups as a way of integrating Eagle House into community life. So do make sure that you head across to the Eagle House website if you'd love to read more in-depth details about the people that used to live in this house. Over more than 2 centuries, Eagle House has reinvented itself time and time again, from a Georgian poorhouse to a Victorian doctor's home, a ladies' school, a private dwelling, and now an award-winning B&B. And thanks to the current owner's efforts, That history is now vividly told rather than forgotten, and as a result, visitors who come for a comfortable night's rest depart with a deeper appreciation of Eagle House's journey and the lives it sheltered. So the next time you visit the charming Staffordshire market town of Eccleshall, you might book a room at Eagle House and sleep under a roof that has seen hardship, hope, learning and love in equal measure, truly experiencing history where it happened. Thank you for watching, and if you love local history like this, then make sure you check out my website, the Red Haired Stokie, for more articles and videos like this. Thank you.